Yeah, welcome everyone back to Planet Earth Poetry here at Russell Books in Victoria. We have, just checking that everything's okay downstairs. We're just like, oh, we got someone coming up, just wait a moment. Okay, welcome back. Our featured readers tonight are Amber Nuyens and Irina Moga. Amber Nuyens grew up on the unceded Syilx Okanagan territory in Winfield, BC, and lives on unceded ʷəŋən and WSÁNEČ territory here in Victoria with her elderly lizard. And she may have another household resident to introduce tonight. She's currently a sessional instructor at the University of Victoria, where she teaches fiction. Her fiction and poetry have appeared in magazines including Carte Blanche, PRISM International, Moss, and Had. Catherine Mockler describes Amber's These Dead Things Are Not My Fault as a necessary and phenomenal collection of prose poems and essayettes from an exciting new voice. Amber is currently working on a Canada Council-funded collection of short poetry. Amber Nuyens.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you everyone for being here. Thanks to Open Mic readers. You guys are so fun. And I'm sorry that my dog decided to learn how to bark literally tonight for the first time ever. Yeah, he's lucky he's cute. This collection is poems and like essay-ish things. It's kind of genreless. It was published by Broke Press out of Vernon. Claire Theedson runs that. It's such an amazing press. Claire does everything. She does the cover, she does all of the looks, and I'm just so grateful to have been published by her. And I'm also so grateful to Catherine Mockler, who is here tonight and who blurbed this book for me. So I'm going to read a couple genreless pieces. I'm going to start with the first one. It's called Noise Shouter. The yellow-eyed penguin's Maori name is hoiho, noise shouter. Listen before they're gone. The scientists are saying there's no hope for the hoiho. Say they'll be extinct by 2050, starving to death, food fished away, chicks withering, 4,000 left, so you must listen closely. The great auk went extinct too quickly to starve to death, hunted into its silence. Couldn't relate to the hoiho that way. Hoiho cries of hunger while the auks had full bellies as they disappeared, hunted for meat and fat and feathers. When they found out the great auk was going extinct, collectors killed the final birds to taxidermy and display in their personal collections. The last egg in existence was crushed by the boots of collectors in 1844. I imagine the auks cried, shouted, just before they were clubbed to death, grieved for the end of their species, grieved their young. I wonder if they could sense they were the last. Final, lonely egg. All almost 200 years ago, so listen closely. Listen because it's happening again, but different. Is it ever different? I should have mentioned that I wrote this collection to like process some serious climate doomerism. So the whole thing's kind of a bummer. This next essay thing is about a real bird that really pissed me off, actually. It's called Dead Seagull on View Street. The dead seagull is still there, weeks rotting on the street, intact and then not. At first, it looked like it had dropped from the sky, alien landing, too far away from power lines or buildings to explain electrocution or blunt impact. Now, feathers and bones stuck upright just off the curb. Memorial. No meat left for the wasps. First, it rotted on the lawn, head rested on splayed out wing, taking a human nap. Then dragged into the street by a living creature. I try to imagine what killed it, why it is still there, memorial. I wonder if it had a human death like a seizure or heart attack or stroke. Why did it fall from the sky like rain? The dead seagull is a juvenile, baby gray feathered, still withers away on the pavement. I wonder if it's one of the baby gulls I've been watching from my balcony, one of its first flights, leaving its slower sibling behind to watch. I wonder if they share the same time bomb illness, first flight last. Is there another baby gray seagull rotting on Fort or Cook or Bay? A few weeks ago, I saw a dead crow at the intersection of Quadra and Johnson, hit by a car, insides bursting from its chest, bright red on black. At least I knew what happened to that crow, hopping through the street too confident. Crunched by a driver too careless, I had an answer to take home and hold. The more I see the dead seagull, the more I need to know what happened to it. But as the body withers, the explanation recedes with it. A pile of feathers and bones drifting through downtown Victoria, nearly gone for good, nearly forgotten. Broke Press is from the Okanagan. I'm from the Okanagan, so I felt I had to have something about the Okanagan in here. And I had just the memory for that. So this is called Free Memories from the Peachland House. 1. Dad returns home from the hospital, walks up the stairs, surgically repaired arm in sling, 2 raccoon eyes. A drunk driver hit him head on, I'm told, and his Pinto rolled off the road into an orchard. I don't remember when I learned these pieces of the story built into a picture, but it is years after leaving the Peachland house. I remember asking to see the physical copy of Dad's x-ray, holding it up to the light, bones and screws materializing out of the black like a Polaroid, turning from white to real. I'm told that when Dad was at the police station to go over his report, he crossed paths with the man that hit him, but he didn't know until after, threads crisscrossing accidentally. I wonder what they would have said to each other. 2. Toddler me, watching cartoons and being babysat by my only aunt. Leans too far back in my plush chair, fabric flattened by use. Strawberry in my mouth falls into my windpipe, I choke on it. I remember the rush, child life or death from Cindy to right me in my chair, dislodge the fruit. I don't remember the before or the after. 3. Outside on concrete slabs next to the driveway, gray on gray on gray. A ladybug weaves across the ground below me. I don't remember how old I am or why I do this. I drop my foot on top of the ladybug, drag my foot back, red streak of former ladybug in my wake. Child instinct to end, path of destruction, no remorse until I recollect now, adult guilt deep in my chest. Is it childish, though, to feel guilty for the murder now, for a crime I committed 20 years ago? When does empathy develop in children? Surely I've done worse things than crush a bug, so tiny and red and unaware. The beetle's only chance at being alive cut short by a child's shoe pulled across concrete. I still remember. And this last poem is for sure the angriest in the collection. And it's the last one I'm going to read for you guys. It's called Telling the Truth. Anything is vegan at Taco Bell if you substitute the meat with beans. Oat milk is the most environmentally friendly dairy replacement we've got, but it is terrible for your skin. Can we ever have it all? After so many years of selective breeding, the labels indica and sativa still might mean something. Have you heard of caryophyllene? It's peppery, spicy, and it's an antidepressant. This is why they will tell you ChemDog gives you a euphoric high. Maybe we can have it all. When you hit the crosswalk button, all traffic will stop for you. It's the law, isn't it? When you separate your compost, trash, and recycling, it remains separated. Your efforts to save the world, one eggshell at a time, are making a difference. Your story about the climate crisis has made a difference. Your book about the climate crisis will make a difference. The average global temperature has risen by less than 2 degrees since 1880. This means we're doing a good job. All those big companies are being held accountable for their global emissions. It's the law, isn't it? When you look into the ocean, the corals you cannot see are only dying a little bit at a time. We are doing a good job. We have it all. Thank you.
Thank you, Amber, for those poetic shots of reality that we need. Very much appreciated. Our second reader tonight, Irina Moga, is the author of 6 poetry collections and is a member of the Writers' Union of Canada. Her book, Variations Sans Palais, editions L'Harmattan, Paris. I should have Lawrence reading the French up here. Won the 2022 Dina Sabina International Literary Prize in France. Her work has been nominated for the SFPA Riesling Award and Best of the Net. Quantum is a collection of poems meant to anchor readers in lightheartedness and serenity. Irina Moga.
Is that good? Can you hear me? Good evening. Thank you for having me here. It's a great pleasure to be here among you, and thank you for being present. I'm going to start this reading with a poem, How to Dry Herbs. How to dry herbs. Time will need a slant in the evening light, a hook into amber sunbeams. The absence of moonlight adds a bitter edge to it in the hollow dampness of the summer. Oregano is best left alone on the threshold of the dawn, its silvery, iridescent tumescence of leaves tingling with a whisper of rivulets in winter. Snow agrees with its verdancy, and it keeps a cadence of melting on the cusp of this herb's withering. For basil, beware of dragonflies hidden amid its scent. Place basil bunches under your pillow if you can bear it, to dream of love's long lost. Blessings always carry force through in its foliage, no matter the season or the penumbra that you face. Rosemary shoots are to be wrapped up in wax paper until they become brittle and resemble cone pine husks. Then you can safely ferry them into a mason jar. There's a tipping point in each flavor, a density of lives lived. If only we could summon it at the end of each unwritten recipe. And now I'd like to read the poem Ledge. Ledge. Submerged, long hours like spider webs hanging from a discolored chandeliers. Sunshine, the warmth of a foothold. We sit on the ledge of the afterglow of senses, sundials into a nameless sea, a plurality of veins and scant fog. Fog is not a memory, though, to be explored in the space of its rhythm. toppled sand mixed with brackish water. We are alone, quiet dead birds, inside the raw filament of an extinguished brain, the boundary of a single nerve. Call it leaf, if you must. I wanted to mention that these poems are part of the book Quantum, published by Dark Winter Press, whose owner and publisher is the wonderful fiction writer Suzanne Praed-Wittek. So I'm very glad for the opportunity to have been published by her. The next poem, I'm gonna read a short poem next. And the poem is called Beachhead. Beachhead. The moon behind your shadow, a windmill of clouds, fragmented. It feels as if I have come ashore after a long absence, trekking through green algae and inverted flower capsules. You are here. I have reached the beachhead of your presence. And now I don't know if you're in a mood for a math problem. No exercise is needed. So in the next poem, I talk about the Mandelbrot set, which is really the mathematical representation of the fractal phenomenon. So there goes the poem, the Mandelbrot set. I dreamt I was at my grandparents' house once more in the Danube plain. An invisible hand knocked on the kitchen window. The kitchen was crowded with cousins and neighbors. A stove was at the forefront of the action, with boiling pans and the painted wooden spoons. An orange cat was always on the prowl. On a corner of the dining table, tarragon sprigs were laid out to dry. The hand knocked again. Zn plus 1 equals Zn squared plus C, the hand wrote on the window pane. You know, the Mandelbrot set, letters and numbers that make up the fractal formula. Z is closer to lemon rind. N is evasive. C is industrious. 1 is curious and smart. 2 is, oh, so elegant. White curtains fluttered briefly. Someone closed the door, they said. It's getting drafty in here. This was when I awoke, inside the fractal, in another time. Okay, and the next poem that I'll read is called Old House. I live in a very old house, so it's a bit about my house. Old house. There was the time we spent together, time made of expanded silences, suspended, just like the branches of the trees and the effaced gambrel of the roof. Eroded shapes bearing the brunt of our words, salty marshes in the distance, closing in on the sea that we knew would be a possible exit. An old house with boarded up windows and doors and creaking baseboards, tiny pieces of $10 nestled between rusted hinges and locks. But there was no immediate sea, of course. Okay. So the next poem that I'll read, it's let me see, just a second. It's called Storyline. Storyline. Words falling on my shoulders like melting snowflakes. What of love that extends beyond the boundaries of the visible world? Your velvety tongue recounts the storyline of shorelines I know nothing of afternoons blown away by petals, glyph of your allegiance to a forbidden planet, while I wander through insomniac nights and the shards of an overgrown moon in the backyard. Will you be with me through this glittering, through a space of reduction and myths, the keyhole to a star? And I'm going to read another short poem. It's called Stravinsky Act. Hear me out. I'm not Petrushka, always smiling, always dancing, no matter the music or my frame of mind. Worse, I am not who I think I am through the unwritten score of my Stravinsky Act. And the next poem that I would like to read is called Unlabeled. Unlabeled. Walking in the low glow of an early October morning, I remember Homer obsessing over the rosy-fingered aurora in the Odyssey. Pink, a jumbled-up derivative of pure colors, its frequency unlabeled on the electromagnetic spectrum, a flimsy caress of light moving through the periphery of marigolds and summer. There's no season like the sporadic onset of the fall, an equinox hidden in its brackets, hanging in the balance of gusty winds and sleet. This hesitation makes us better hosts, amphitrions of a convivial and cagey alphabet. And from above, a colored leaf just floats. We're good, or? Okay. So I'm gonna read a poem about coffee. For an unknown reason to me, it seems like coffee poems are popular with readers and also the audience. So I hope you enjoy this poem. I promise it's gonna be a short one. Okay, just a second. Amaretto. Moments of lust traverse the morning, our fingerprints motionless on the porcelain rim of a coffee cup. Amaretto. The erotic nature of the words without despair, when there is no lag between our gestures and the mooring voice of all pages. Who could accelerate the effect of the beverage, its twisted aroma of green beans, like a bandage of light and false nonchalance over our eyes? The filter which we seek, neither liquid helix nor happiness, the elixir of randomness. And now I'd like to, if you give me a second. I'm going to read a poem about myself. I poke fun at myself in this poem, and it's just actually how I see myself. It's called A Prelude to Pollen. Hollow, the bastion of the garden awaits the hoe, the hose's murky gurgle, and a spate of seeds and bulbs, aided by unscrupulous winds. A prelude to pollen, abundant pollen that would cling to my toes come end of June, sticky and yellow. Now simply a curtain surmised among yet to be measured rhizomes and fumes. A coalescing weight that hangs on to a barely discernible crown as I lay claim to my throne. I, the queen of mulch. Good? Okay. All right, so the next poem that I'm gonna read, it's about writing. And it's called Prelude, another prelude. A sketch is a sketch is a sketch. A draft is never a draft. It's a crystal ball riddled with paragraphs and punctuation from which we may never come alive. Push up for air with a gasp and then back into unknown straits. Barely a prelude. Eyes shut, hands and torso tied to a mast, ears filled with beeswax, hardwired for a siren's hack. Thank you.